Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning,
Good morning, Leila. Good morning, Tunde. Let's start with this, the newspapers. Lead story, APC in trouble as court disqualifies Bayelsa governorship running mate. Lawyers outline options for party. Yes, the running mate to the Bayelsa governorship candidate.
The APC.
The APC, yes.
Governorship.
The APC governorship candidate, Bioba Rakuma Degi Eremia. Well, the case was taken to court by the PDP, and the court ruled yesterday that he's not qualified, having different names, different qualifications, which he presented before INEC. And with that, what is the option before the APC? Is it possible to get a stay of execution before Saturday, such that, he will be allowed to run in the interim?
They can try.
That is an option. But somehow, perhaps the PDP will be smiling somewhere that this is another technical knockout for the APC. Recall what happened in Zamfara and what happened in Rivers. How the APC cannot put its act together.
But they actually did. This time they didn't fall into the trap of party primaries. There was another trap lying in wait down the line.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Well, sometimes when we hear these stories about qualifications, I mean, they sound quite strange. I think the gentleman swore to an affidavit doing a change of name or something. But why would there be different names on different certificates? At what point, or is it the usual thing for persons to keep changing their names, and when you change your name, you change all the names completely?
There's something strange there. I'm sure that's what also informed the judgment given by the usually thorough, according to lawyers, Justice Equal, regarded as a very thorough judge. He must have looked at all that and before giving that ruling. Whether they can upturn that ruling at the higher court is another matter altogether. But for the Saturday election...
Even if they get a stay of execution, the matter will still come back to haunt the APC in the event that, the APC wins the election. So it's really a problem, for the APC. And I hope also, again, others will learn lessons from this. If you don't have, the right names, or is that the thing to say? Just be careful in what you put in the form, the eligibility form.
Well, let's not jump into any conclusion, because if you have some tardy trajectory in your life, at one point it will come and haunt you. But let's hope the man can clear himself at the higher court.
In any case, to be deputy governor, he didn't need anything more than a school cert.
He could have just stopped there.
Yeah.
Yes, for the PDP to take this to court, it means they've been tracking him all this while, using all these names along the way. But let's see how it pans out, how they will face the Saturday election. Now, if we move over to the Vanguard newspaper, the protests you've discussed earlier this morning. Protesters stormed DSS headquarters, one Showore Bakari free. Journalists injured as DSS dispersed protesters demanding Showore's release. We were offered 1 million naira to suspend protests. Deji Adeyanju. Serap accuses security men of using lethal weapons on peaceful protesters. Of course, we heard from an eyewitness of that protest.
Yes, Yemi Adamoleku,
yes,
who was on this program earlier.
And I think she gave quite a detailed view of the high-handedness of the DSS operatives, who we don't know what they are up to these days. This is an agency of government under the executive. So when they're talking about what is the president saying about this, very valid question, because these were peaceful protesters. Journalists were doing their legitimate job, yet they went on to brutalize both the protesters and journalists alike. What is this country turning into?
You know, and in terms of rules of engagement, there was a violation of the rules of engagement. And there may be need for the Director General of the Department of State Services to carry out an investigation about the conduct of his men. And it was with regard to that I said what happened, you know, was in itself an embarrassment to the Department of State Security Services. I mean, not just beating up people, you know, also going to cut tires, you know.
Yes, both for destruction of their property. For what reason?
Destruction of property, willful assault, the use of lethal and excessive force, that certainly cannot be part of the rules of engagement, even if you are just talking about the secret police. And that's why I think the Director General of the DSS should investigate what happened, who gave the orders, you know, and what was the nature of the engagement. Was there any provocation? From what we have heard, you know, there was no provocation in any way. And then why did it become a standard practice, you know, for state officials to turn their guns on the citizens?
It's awful. When Yami said they didn't shoot in the air, they were shooting above their heads. So you can imagine going to peacefully protest, you're unarmed, all you have maybe is a placard, and there are bullets whizzing above their heads.
And what
it's
is the aim
completely
of
unacceptable.
Because it's not in the air, it's flying over their heads.
That's what she made that point.
Ruben, you are assuming that the Director General of the DSS has not okayed what transpired yesterday.
But we are saying that you should not okay that kind of conduct.
Yes, because we are saying he should
the Department of
investigate
State Services is an institution.
Yes.
It must also be concerned about its image and brand.
Yes. Perhaps we also expect the National Assembly to look into this kind of action. Because the other day, the Department of State Security tried to take over the National Assembly.
Yes.
So if you expect the institution to check itself, they've also established a track record, at least in the last 1 year or thereabout, about their own conduct. So you need another institution, in this case the legislature, perhaps to look into their activities and invite the director of the DSS to answer some questions about their methodology.
You know, sometimes some of these security agents across board, sometimes you may just have some overzealous officers, you know.
Which is what Yemi said, that there was one in particular, the others were trying to calm that one down. So
because you gave an account that, you know, even some of the operatives were calling some of their colleagues to say, stop, don't do that. So some are just overzealous. And if they are overzealous and they go beyond their bounds, then it's part of the responsibility of their bosses to say, look, this is not good, don't do this another time.
Okay, let's move on to other subjects. The Daily Independent: outrage as Senate considers death penalty for hate speech. Bill ill intention to suppress criticism. Ozekome: there are more serious issues to legislate on, says Obani. It's anti-people bill which would not end well. ADP: hate bill necessary to tame social media, says Professor Sagi. National Assembly moves passage of 2020 budget, November 28th. Now, you've discussed this with Lanre Arogundade extensively, but I was particularly interested in Professor Ishe Sagi's comment. And if you read it, yes, he said there is need for some form of regulation of the social media. But he's even denying that there's actually a death penalty attached to what they are doing. He said it's likely to be rumor. Because, of course, in his view, death penalty, not even life sentence, is too high for such a crime. But the bill itself as presented and debated includes death penalty, and why this senator will go this far to prescribe...
What we know is that the bill, may not even survive. It's not automatic that it will be passed. It may even be withdrawn, as was the case with the previous bill in 2015. But let's take a short commercial break, and then we'll continue with the review of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world.
Welcome back. You're still watching the morning show here on Arise News, and Emmanuel Efeni, Arise News analyst, is still in the studio with us looking at headlines in today's newspapers from around the world.
Yeah, of course, other newspapers are also carrying the same headline on this hate speech. The Punch newspaper, NBA, Senior Advocates of Nigeria, Atiku say hate speech bill draconian. Bill unjustifiable, Lawyers Association tells Senate. APC government encouraging eroding gains of democracy, Senior Advocates of Nigeria. Now, the Sun newspaper, Senate proposes death sentence for hate speech. Also considers life sentence. Like you said, the bill may not see the light of day, but the way this 9th National Assembly so far has conducted itself, it's like if we're not careful, this bill may just slip through. But we have enough dissenting voices from outside the Senate. I've not seen so much from inside. And if it passes through the Senate and perhaps there's a concurrence from the House of Representatives, we may just have something else in our hands in this country.
But as I said earlier, we've been through this route before. When Senator Nala Ibn Ala, when he proposed the frivolous petitions bill in 2014, the outrage was so much. And what has started now, it's the same expression of outrage about the idea of setting up a commission for the prohibition of fake speech. And this particular bill, like the other one also, the internet misinformation or manipulation bill, may also just suffer the same fate, because the law is made for the good of society. And if the people reject the law, then of course you really cannot go ahead with it. And as Lanre Arugundade said when we had a conversation with him around this subject, he is calling for multi-stakeholder engagement. So by the time the bill gets to that level, I want to believe that there will be enough reasonable people in the National Assembly who will raise very critical issues that other Nigerians have raised. And that may lead in the long run either to a complete modification of the bill, or the bill being withdrawn in its entirety. But the question I put to you is the same question that I put to Lanre Arugundade when he was on this program, which is, do you yourself agree in principle that there is a certain measure of control that is necessary, particularly with regard to the social media?
Well, it's a dicey issue because the freedom of speech and freedom of expression, which the Constitution guarantees, should not be shackled in any way. However, given the abuse that has also been seen in the social media space, perhaps you want to say maybe some form of a regulation, but we have enough laws to take care of any infraction that may arise from misuse of the social media.
I think so. I don't think we need any more laws. It's over egging the pie at this point. But I think we definitely need controls with social media.
We certainly do.
We don't have, even we have those Chapter 4 human rights that are guaranteed, like you said, in the Constitution. But even those rights are not unqualified. All rights are restricted. You cannot express your rights or enjoy or indulge your rights at the expense of other people.
Absolutely, but this is also where artificial intelligence needs to play a role. This is why companies like Twitter are always in trouble, because you need to be able to use technology to be able to also regulate on your behalf. These social media platforms should be able to regulate their users. So, for example, you go and you put out a tweet, but before you send it, AI has been able to pick up on certain things in that tweet to say, you know what, this can't go out. You know what I'm saying?
We're not there yet, because even look at what happened with the New Zealand massacre, when that man live streamed the murder of 49 people, and it took ages for Facebook to be able to take it down, because even though, yes, we're so technologically advanced and what have you, we still have a long way to go. What they do, though, and I know countries like Germany and India, their law is that those social media giants must take down offensive posts. They call it manifestly illegal posts or hate-filled or fake news. They take them down within 24 hours. So there is that window. 24 hours is a long time, but at least I think that's where we are with regards to technology now. We don't have that buffer that before you post it, some mechanism, someone will read it, vet it, approve it, then let you post. It's not there yet.
But certainly we don't need death penalty.
No.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree on that.
It's excessive.
Okay, let's move on to other issues. If you look at the front page of the Punch newspaper above the masthead, Senate wants textile imports banned for 5 years. That motion of urgent motion was tabled by Senator Kabir Barkia from Katsina State. He wants the country, the federal government, to ban textile imports for 5 years to enable Nigeria as a country revive the textile industry, which has been in comatose for some time.
Well, I mean, the textile industry in Nigeria used to thrive, and it used to provide a lot of jobs. And, you know, Nigerian companies even were exporting textiles. But so that industry has also been a victim of many of the contradictions and failures and omissions within the Nigerian environment. But you recall that in his 5-year plan, providing incentives and support for the textile industry, and particularly for cotton growers, is part of the agenda of the Central Bank of Nigeria under Godwin Emefiele. That's the current governor of the Central Bank. But before anybody can just come up and say, oh, you have to ban importation of textiles for 5 years, okay, what is that based on? Is it based on hard data? You know, based on the efforts of government or the CBN, if you like, what have we been able to achieve? What is the volume of production, you know, within that industry in Nigeria? Have we reached a level of, you know, self-sufficiency within that industry that you can then say, okay, let's consume what we produce within the textile industry in Nigeria and then ban. However, the other leg of it is that textile is not like rice. Even rice, we've seen footages of persons, you know, going across the border to bring in rice in cellophane, you know, bags.
I saw that.
So there must be a scientific analysis, because it seems like we just have this mentality in Nigeria. Somebody just comes up with an idea and you say, oh, let's ban it. And then it's after you have banned that particular item that you start doing the analysis, you know, and you are confronted with unintended outcomes.
Consequences.
Yes.
Well, let's hope we'll do that properly. Perhaps at the end of the 5-year plan.
But the senator that is proposing this.
Yes.
I mean, is he proposing it as a bill, or he was expressing an opinion?
Well, he expressed an opinion, which, if adopted, he wants the federal government at the executive level to make a pronouncement, just like they did with the border closure. You don't need a bill to close your border.
Yeah. But the CBN had already addressed this issue of textile imports, you'll recall.
Yes.
But I guess he wants to go a step further.
Further, perhaps as a way of also supporting what the CBN is doing, because some of us Nigerians seem to have lost our taste for local fabrics.
Yeah.
Perhaps because if you don't patronize the local industries, how do you expect them to thrive?
But don't forget also, you know, I keep making this point about the capacity of, you know, the textile industry. Don't forget also that things like what you wear and all that, you know, it's also a matter of personal choice. I know some Nigerians, you know, I must have seen some of them this morning, who probably will not wear certain local fabrics and who prefer some certain kinds of, fashion items. So again, we have to be careful about individual choice.
No.
Somebody to my right is smiling.
Ruben, leave.
That is a low blow, Dr.
Such a low blow.
Ruben, I hope you are not talking about like designer jackets. But
Oh, you wear designer jackets. Eh?
but you know, there is this Ashobi economy.
Yes.
And the Ashobi that is bought every weekend in this country, that if all that money go into the local industry, because they import all this Ashobi from neighboring countries. So at least we should be able to wear Ashobi. And I know no matter the quality of Ashobi, or you want to solidarize with whoever is celebrating.
By Ashobi, you mean party uniforms?
Yes, party uniforms. Yes.
Nigerians, organize so many parties every week.
That is an economy of its own,
It
which
really is.
the local textile industry should benefit from. Not going to bring fabrics from Ghana, from Cote d'Ivoire, and the local industry is suffering. Not necessarily your designer tie, designer
I get your
pink
point.
jacket.
You are talking about pink.
I'm not the target.
Let's,
Dr. Amati this morning, that's another shade of future.
let's move on to other subjects. Daily Trust, Kogi governorship. Thugs caused chaos as IGP INEC boss attend peace accord. SDP wants election postponed. Yes, what happened in Kogi yesterday? Quite scary, where the Inspector General of Police was in attendance of that meeting. Thugs stormed the place.
The chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, was also there.
This brazenness that was displayed yesterday, it seemed to be a pointer to what is likely to happen on election day. I hope the police and other security agencies are well prepared. Because if these thugs can be so emboldened, and what were they trying to do? Trying to prevent the SDP candidate, Natasha Akpoti, from getting access to go and sign the peace deal. This lady has been targeted 2 days ago. Her posters removed, secretariat set on fire. Again, she was a target yesterday. Why is she being targeted? I was trying to find out, and somebody from Kogi told me that, well, she's from the same senatorial district with the governor. And she has some level, she has her own level of popularity.
So she would divide his votes.
So that is why they are going all out for her. But that should not be allowed, because we talk about women's participation in politics. This is a woman who has come out to be involved in the politics of her state. Yet she has been the target of fellow politicians.
Well, I think the indication in Kogi State is that, look, the security agencies, they have to be more proactive. And it's good that the Inspector General of Police himself was at this event where the SDP gubernatorial candidate was not allowed to come in. And the policemen resorted to the use of tear gas canisters. And we were told that even the Inspector General of Police himself had the taste of the medicine that was provided by the police to control crowd, because the hall was also affected by the tear gas.
So people had to cover their noses and their mouths.
They have to be prepared for Saturday. That's November 16 in Kogi State particularly, where there have been reports. This is the second major report of violence, all within a space of 1 week. So it looks like there is a gradual build-up to Saturday, the November 16 election in that state. And we need to appeal to all the political gladiators to be careful that this should not be a war situation. It's about election, and the leaders of the political parties, those who are moving folks around or encouraging their supporters. The whole import of that peace accord, peace agreement that was signed yesterday, is that everyone will behave like a decent human being and realize that, the gubernatorial election in Kogi State should not be in the ethnic groups in the state, because I hear ethnicity is also a major factor in the, forthcoming gubernatorial election in Kogi State.
Well, let's hope the...
Mr. Efeni,
Yes.
thank you so much for the newspaper.
Thanks, Mr. Efeni.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni. See you tomorrow.